Bye! My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Duck Dogs. I'm your host, Josh Miller. And let's be sure to thank our fantastic partners that make this show possible. Thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba is the presenting partner of Duck Dogs. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport. The 30-20 blend is what I normally run on my dogs. If you need some little off-season mix that maybe you're working as hard, the dogs aren't running as hard, 26-16 is a great blend for that. So Eukanuba Premium Performance, either 30-20 or 26-16. Both fantastic formulas, and I highly suggest it for anyone looking for a premium food to put your four-legged hunting partner on. Eukanuba. Thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for any of your outdoor clothing. I just went through and washed all of my Sitka gear from the season, and it's a task because I have way too much of it. I love this stuff. www.sitkagear.com, and don't worry, they have plenty of everyday wear, too, to keep you comfortable during the training season as we head into it. So, sitkagear.com. Thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent Cartridge is the shotgun shell of choice for us. We love shooting that Kent Bismuth all season. And I just talked to Kent here this morning, and we're going to be getting a load of poppers in as we head into the training season. So go check it out if you guys need some poppers going into the season. Kent Cartridge. Thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test ready kennel, both in the intermediate and the large size. So no matter how big or small your dog is, you can be sure they're traveling as safe as they possibly can be. www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium option for online training at home. We're working on some big things here, so you might want to stay tuned and in tune with what Retriever Roadmap is doing. www.retrieverroadmap.com. And last but not least, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for your four-legged hunting partner. There's a reason that a Gun Dog Supply lasts. You're going to hear about it in just a second, so stay tuned. So I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. I'm just on one today. I don't know why I'm just on one. I know one of the reasons I'm on one is because Whitney is taking a puppy to the airport to fly to his new home in Alaska. Super, super cool. I want to talk about that for a second because it kind of came up. But I'm on one because, and when Whitney goes to the airport, it means she goes by a Chick-fil-A, which means I'm getting a spicy chicken sandwich here in hopefully about an hour, and it just makes my day. I love Chick-fil-A. So you might be asking yourself, what do you normally get? Well, I get the spicy chicken sandwich, of course. It is about the best thing that you could possibly get on that menu. And then you gotta enjoy that sandwich for what it is, right? I'm not putting a slimy tomato on there, right? I'm not putting the lettuce that, let's be honest, is only there for the crunch, but the crunch gets taken away when you put it on a hot sandwich and it just gets soggy, right? So take that. I do add the pepper jack cheese. So a little hack. Don't get the deluxe and say without. Just get the spicy chicken sandwich and then add the pepper jack cheese. Win-win. I just absolutely love, and living in rural Wisconsin as we do, we have minimal options for fast food. We have McDonald's, which quite frankly, I'm not a McDonald's person. And so we have McDonald's and we have 2 Subways. I don't know why. Well, one of them is in the Walmart. So yeah, I'm not touching that. Just the way it is, right? I'm very picky about my food. So when your wife is going by somewhere as premium as a Chick-fil-A, it just makes your day. So I'm on one today for that. But I'll tell you what, I woke up today and I was not on one. I woke up groggy. I woke up tired. I went to get my workout in and I just had nothing. Like I had no strength. I had no energy. I even came in, Whitney and I kind of go our separate ways in the morning. My first thing I do every morning, I get my workout done. Whitney enjoys getting a jump start on the day, getting her emails, kind of caught up on. She loves sipping coffee. I'm not a big coffee person myself. And I came in and I was just in a bad mood. And I was just like, she's like, what? I'm like, I've got no strength. I'm just like, bleh. Like I just didn't have it. And I went up to the kennels. So I'm there way earlier than everybody else. And I walk in the office and we have a whiteboard. You guys probably heard me talk about my whiteboard. I put motivational quotes on there and it's just something I enjoy doing because all it takes is one person to need to see that and you change their day. And this is what happened to me today, right? So I walked in there and I don't know if it was Aaron judging by the handwriting, it was Aaron because I love Dave to death, but he doesn't have the neatest handwriting. So I'm going to guess it was Aaron. Or maybe it was Whitney. I don't know. But it said attitude, one of the few things that you were in control of every day. And I was like, all right, so let's go look for a win, right? So I got my stuff done, went down to the house. Hey, my daughter's up happy, not dragging around. Great, that's a win, right? I had, where there's ice everywhere, it would have been easy, but bleh, right? Like just, you look for those little wins, and all of a sudden here I am at noon, and I'm like, gosh, I'm just loving today. Love it, right? Just change my whole day around. But let's talk about that Alaska thing. That's really, really interesting because it's Alaska, which is awesome. And then 2, one of the things that came up in the Retriever Roadmap community this last week was that we had a member from Alaska reach out and say, hey, any tips on what I should be doing when we're in these stretches of darkness, right? So no daylight. Like here, here I am in Wisconsin kicking rocks. Oh, poor me, poor me. We got 30 inches of snow. Oh, it's raining. Now we have ice. Now, we don't have water. All my friends down south are already trying. Like, these guys don't have daylight, and they're still trying to make it work. It's so interesting to me how you don't think of someone else's issues or hurdles that they're trying to overcome in their training situations until you hear about it and you go, oh my gosh, like never would have thought of that. And we have a lot of clients in Alaska, so this is something we've talked about, just kind of over time as these situations have come up. But it always, I think, kind of brings me back and reality checks me. It's no different than my good buddy BMAC, Brian McClara from Hush. If you guys follow Hush or Get Hushin' on YouTube, BMAC, great dude. He called me last week, and I was probably at that time, probably 7 or 8 hours into the day just on the tractor, right? So I'm just kind of crabbing, like, I love moving snow, but you have too much of something you love, and all of a sudden it's like, right? So I'm just coming up to the house. I'm just gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna get off, get something to drink. And BMAC calls me. He's like, "Hey, dude, what's going on? Can I talk?" And he's like, "Man, like we've been shoveling snow for like 3 hours already." And I'm like shoveling, like hand shoveling? He's like, "Yeah, man." And it's just like the heavy snow. We have kind of a long driveway, and I'm sitting there going, like, my biggest complaint right now is that my neck is kinked because I have to look backwards at the snowblower, not out the front. So it's like, even when you think you have it bad, somebody else has a situation that is worse, right? It's just one of those things that sometimes you need to smack you in the face. But that Alaska thing is just super interesting to me. That there's kind of that ebb and flow, these hurdles that obviously most of us, We take daylight for granted. Kind of interesting. Anyway, Gundog Supply. So I talked about Gundog Supply last in the introductions, which normally I kind of have my routine that I do. But I threw it out there last because they are going to do something really, really cool for everybody. And I just want to share this with you, and I encourage you guys to do this, and I'll explain why. So, Rob, so I'm going to bring my phone out here so I can actually read it to you. So, Rob Snell, Steve Snell, owner of Gundog Supply, just some of my absolute favorite people on this earth. So Rob texts me out of nowhere 2 days ago, and he goes, "Hey, I want to do something for the podcast." And I go, "Okay, like what?" And he goes, "What's the next episode number?" And so I said, well, actually, there's a longer story to this. I said 102. It's actually 103. I said 102. And he said, "Great. How's this sound? We'll do a $102 shopping spree giveaway." I'm like, that's awesome, right? Now, here's the kicker, and here's why you have to go do this, okay? Because in his next message, he said, depending on how many people send in on this, let's do this regularly. It'd be a great way to see how many folks are engaging. So make sure you go do this. We can do this more often. I mean, he's just doing this just because, like, really cool. So, so remember how I said it was 102 and it was actually 103? Well, here's the deal. So Rob says here, tell them to email. It's going to be 103. Okay. So here's how you enter. Okay. Email 103, the number 103 at gundogsupply.com. And then tell us, he misspelled this. Tell them to tell us their favorite thing about the podcast. When they send that email in with their favorite thing about the podcast, they'll get their name in a drawing for a $103 shopping spree. See website for details. Okay, I don't know what see website for details means, to be honest with you, because Duck Dogs doesn't have a website. But here's what's funny. I originally told him it was episode 102. And so he set the email up as 102. He set everything up as 102. And so then I had to sheepishly go back and be like, hey, remember that thing you were doing on the goodness of your heart and just because? And I kind of screwed that up. So can you do a new email address? It was a little embarrassing for me. But again, email the number 103 at gundogsupply.com. In that email, tell them your favorite thing about this podcast, and you will be entered into a giveaway. But again, guys, just take 30 seconds out of your day and go do this, because the more people that do it, the more often Rob is going to want to do this. So let's knock it out of the park, make him want to do it more, and then more of you guys can get more of these shopping sprees. I think it's super neat. And from the looks of it, I mean, I'm reading you everything I'm looking at. It looks like it doesn't matter what it's on. It's just whatever you want, shopping spree. So go do that. Enter in that Gundog Supply contest. Super nice of them. They are some of my absolute favorite people on this planet. They're so giving. They're so kind. They're so generous. And they're one of the very few places that you can go and get everything that you want, as in the stuff that we use in our trainings, right? Really, really neat. Go do that. I'm going to get to some more questions here because I want to keep knocking some of these out. But one thing I found interesting was, as you guys know from the last episode, I just got done with Pheasant Fest. I was speaking there, and I just get to speak alongside a lot of people that I grew up as looking to as mentors, right? So Rick Smith, Ronnie Smith, Tom Dawkin, all these guys that, they were very instrumental for me as far as people to look up to, good leadership, good role models as far as they carry themselves well, they're kind people, good people for me to be able to look up to. And what's so interesting is that I had someone talk to me after we do a panel. So each one of us gives at least one seminar throughout the day. And at the end of the day, we do a panel. And at the panel, we're just sitting there all together, and we're just talking about, like different ideas and different topics, and then people can ask questions, and then you might get 4 or 5 different answers for your one question. It's my favorite part of the day because you have a lot of different flavors, that are up there. Really neat. But there's a lady that talked to me after one of the panels, and she said, I thought it was so interesting that there was no arguing up there, and there was no kind of like bickering back and forth, because in my experience, like trainers just naturally, they don't get along. And I think that is so interesting that, because one, it's true. Like there's a lot of this, for whatever reason, this competitive, jabbing and almost like aggression towards other trainers. There was a saying out there that I think is hilarious. That's, the only thing that 2 dog trainers can agree on is what the third one's doing wrong. I think that's so funny because, unfortunately, it's just kind of true for the most part, right? And so what I think is so ridiculous about that is that, we should be trying to build each other up. We should be trying to be supportive of each other. And this is just the reality of this business is that you don't need a degree. You don't need a diploma. There's no credentials. Like literally anyone can wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, I'm going to be a dog trainer. And I get where that can be frustrating, right? We end up having to fix a lot of problems from people that, quite frankly, shouldn't have been taking any money to train a dog, but it's out there. But when I hear about this kind of stuff of like, people on specifically Facebook, like there's these keyboard warriors that just like, they feel like they're big tough guys. And, it's like, really? Like you're going to start jabbing on or start bad mouthing another trainer? Or my first thought when I get in those situations or when I hear about those situations is like, gosh, man, I wish I had that much time in a day to worry about that. Wish I had that much time in a day to actually try to go out of my way to like, come on, like grow up. The only reason that any of that is happening, for the most part, is jealousy. Like that. I mean, I have, one of my competitors that does a good job in some areas, but a lot of people go after him because he doesn't have maybe the credentials that they say that he should have. But like, there's no other reason to go after anyone unless you're jealous of them. So it's interesting to me, like from a consumer standpoint, like this, young lady was, to have that thought, and this is where I'm really hopeful that like retriever groups and like HRC, I think, does a really, really good job at this of keeping it very inviting, keeping it open. Don't have, like, they try to keep the riffraff out as far as, the overly arrogant, professionals that want to put down the new people. Like, I think HRC really realizes that new people are how this thing is going to continue to live on. And so they're very inviting about that. I wish everyone was, because I've been around long enough, at my old age, I've been around long enough that I've seen both sides of it, and I get it. I get where, someone new especially would be turned off to the other side of it. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get to some questions, okay? So, full disclosure, I haven't read any of these. I should have prepped for them a little better. I didn't do that last time. And my plan was, well, I'll read through some of them and be ready. I didn't do that again. And to be honest with you, I wasn't going to record a podcast today, but we woke up and had, I bet you there is at least a quarter to a half inch of ice on everything. I dang near broke my back just walking out the door this morning because I was oblivious, and whoop, another reason that my day kind of got started on a rougher note. But decided to make lemonade out of lemons. And why don't we come up? Now, the roads are good. But you talk about like hard to do anything outside at all. It's tough. So I decided, you know what? Lemonade, let's go get over to the podcast booth and let's get recording done. So naturally, I didn't prepare as much. So I'm going to keep kind of knocking out these questions that were sent in. So let me see here. So we have Cameron. And Cameron has, it looks like a little firefighter emoji by his name. So I don't know Cameron's last name, but Cameron. Hey, Josh, just listened to the latest podcast. Great stuff. One idea that's been on my mind, I know you've probably touched on it in previous podcasts, but have you thought about an episode of how you came about to be a business owner and go about tackling the day-to-day challenges? I think it'd be great perspective to hear that, especially from your line of work and the specialties that come with it. Would be pretty inspiring information, maybe. I certainly would take that into account for my own life. Also, what other shows are you going to be attending this winter, spring? Would be great to cross paths with y'all somewhere potentially. Take care. This is neat. This is a cool one because if you know me, you know my business side is where I really geek out on stuff. So let's dig in a little bit to that. But first, the simple answer is I'm done with shows for the winter and spring. We will. I don't know why those. We will be. Let's see, probably Game Fair for sure. Yeah, in Minnesota in August. 2 weekends back to back. I believe we're going to be doing the Delta Waterfall Expo again for UK. Believe, I'm not sure yet. But I'll keep you posted on that. But nothing in the immediate future. Now the first part about this. So how you became how I became a business owner is really interesting because I feel like that entrepreneurship was kind of always, ingrained in me, whether I knew it or not. But what really made me have to do it was, it just like I got to a point where I had to do something and I knew that this dog thing was something I was good at. I didn't know anything else that I was good at. When you've been told your whole life you're going to go be a professional ball player and then that doesn't, pan out, you kind of feel lost. And so I just kind of ran with it. But because I feel like I'm a very detailed person, I want to continue to grow, I want to continue to get better. I really dug into how to be the best business owner. And one of the most proud possessions that I have is, I believe it was in 15? No, maybe 14? Gosh, I don't know. It feels like it was 10 years ago now. Maybe it was. Riverstone won Emerging Business of the Year for the state of Wisconsin. Now think about that. How many businesses there are, how many great businesses there are. Like, why in the world would a dog kennel be that? It was kind of bizarre, especially in the company that we were in. But we won that, and the following year I was runner-up for Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year. And so I really love the business side of it, from that side. But the day-to-day challenges, what's so interesting about the kennel side of things is that it is a 24/7 job. You can plan to check out at 5. You can plan to have your weekends off. You can plan to go on vacation. But it doesn't work that way. And this is where I think when you have especially someone in our line of work, most times when you see people fail, it's because they had a hobby. Their hobby was training their dog, working with their dog, and then someone tries to make their hobby their business. But the problem is that it's always run as a hobby. To me, this is where you get the whole, we only have 1 litter a year, and it's this, okay, that's a hobby. It's not a business, right? We have to make business decisions. We run our business as a business, and that there's a lot of cost that goes with that. There's a lot of extras that go with that, but I believe it's what separates people being successful versus not. I think if you run your business as a hobby, you're going to see shortcomings or pitfalls at some point. So that's one part of it. The other part of it that I never really anticipated is, so I have, I believe, 14 employees, 3 of which are full-time, employees. And I have so anytime you have your own business, right? Or anytime you have a job, your focal point, especially if you have a family, is taking what I do and putting food on my family's table, providing for my family, roof over their head, they fed, taken care of, healthy, happy, right? That's your goal. That's all of our goals. What is so interesting to me is I feel that weight times 4 because I feel that with my employees. I feel a responsibility to be feeding multiple families. And it's a weight that I do not take lightly. And I never anticipated that, right? Because it just never was something that occurred to me. It's not a weight that I look at as like it's dragging me down. It actually pushes me forward. It's why I want to keep growing. It's why I want to keep, when I say growing, I don't mean more dogs. That's not what I mean. I want to keep things where we're at right now for a lot of reasons. But like I want Retriever Roadmap to continue to grow with this podcast or continue to grow. I want to continue to grow in other areas. And I think all of us are becoming more and more successful because of it. I look at Dave, who is my full-time trainer at the kennel. Dave has worked for me for over 10 years. I just look at where he's at in life. Before he was milking cows, and now he's doing something he loves to do. He loves to train. He loves it, right? And he gets to provide his family with a great living, because of it. And I think that is a tremendous luxury, but it's a luxury that's earned, right? Like he's putting in his time. He's putting a lot of work, to get there. And so that's something that I never really anticipated, but it's one of the challenges that I personally, I guess, take into account from a day-to-day standpoint. And then I think the behind the scenes part of it, like Whitney, starting very early, ending very late, the overnight whelpings, those are the kind of things that you just when you think you have it planned, you don't. Mother Nature has a way of telling you and reminding you that you don't have a plan, whether it's an emergency vet visit that you have to take care of, whether it's a puppy whelping that just isn't going as planned, or a mom coming into a whelping days early. There's always something. But here's the thing, is that I wouldn't want to do anything else, right? Like it's easy to be like, oh, I'm drugged down, or I'm worn down, or I'm tired. I didn't get to no, I love what I do. I love what I do. So I could do a whole podcast on this. I'm trying, you can probably tell, I'm trying to keep kind of things back, because if I let this go, we're going to go down a rabbit hole really, really quick, because I will start my geeking outside. But that was a really good one, Cameron. I appreciate you sending that one in. Okay, so Kyle. Kyle Meenan sent in and said, podcast topic. Since I see myself getting to this point next year, I mostly upland hunt. Getting into waterfowl and less upland opportunities are available around me. Can you talk about stop to flush? I'm making assumptions here, but I can only imagine what my upland hunting is going to do when Huck is the dog's name, when Huck's steadiness, if I don't stay on top of him. Stopping or sitting to flush is what I see to be a possible goal, and to answer for this. Thanks. Love following the show. So, Kyle, so stop to flush, sit to flush. It's really an interesting deal, because it is an elite level of obedience, right? Elite level of control. And I'm sure I have it somewhere. We did a whole video on this, because Brock was going through his upland training that he has to pass in his tests, and that's one thing he has to do. And so to have a flushing dog go from hot on a bird trail, boom, 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 right on their butt, put that bird up, that dog wants to chase, right? And to be able to stop, sit down, and have control and watch that bird, it is an elite level of obedience. And so how we always do this is we always, this is after, whistle sit. This is after, this is more of an advanced thing, right? And when the bird flushes, we go tweet to sit him down and then let the bird fly. Tweet. Now, this is easier to do with homing pigeons. We have homing pigeons rather than watching a $30 bill and a pheasant fly away. Yeah, you do. That's hard to do. And so homing pigeons will go up, go right back home. So we can reuse them and reuse them and reuse them. So we can get a ton of repetition and not be out a bunch of money. And so, just investment wise, homing pigeons are kind of neat. But one thing that I think we struggle with is you can do this in training. You can set it up, you can work at it, you can really get them dialed in to where flush sit. But where we see it unravel is the hunt. Because especially if you're hunting by yourself, this is one of those things that is easy to let get out of control. Bird flushes, you're of course not watching the dog. You go shoot the bird if the dog breaks or all of a sudden is chasing. Now all of a sudden you're scrambling, whether it's to get your whistle, whether it's to get your transmitter on your collar, and the dog's already past the point and is probably on the bird. So now because they got through it the one time, now all of a sudden they're going to push you on the second time. So how do you watch the dog, shoot, make the correction? There's a lot going on there. So easy answer to this would be have somebody else shoot. Okay, let's walk through this scenario. Have someone else shoot, okay, and you're just watching the dog making the correction. Well, here's where the biggest factor comes in on the live hunt. In training, you know where the bird is. You can be ready. You can anticipate it. You can know when you're going to blow the whistle for the sit. You can know when the correction is likely going to have to be made, or at least in the ballpark. Well, wild bird hunting, you don't have that luxury. So are you going to walk for 3 hours on edge, whistle in your mouth, intentfully just focused and zeroed in on this dog, waiting for that exact moment? You might have to, but realistically, this is where most people just go, we're hunting. We can make every excuse, right? Oh, we're hunting. Oh, this is, maybe I didn't want that. Oh, I want them to get on these crippled birds really fast, so I let them go. This is where it gets really tough application in the field. Now, if you do enough repetition on this, right, with your homing pigeons, and this is how we do it anyways, enough repetition on the homing pigeons, and then you get into pen raised pheasants, so you get enough repetition there, right? Your hope is that it transfers over and you have a dog that is a team player and wants to make it happen, right? And on hens, it's great because now you can't shoot, so it immediately eliminates one factor of this to where you can now just go back and just focus on the dog. So it is a difficult thing that what I would say, if I'm generalizing this statement, I think generally speaking, most people that go through the training on this end up letting it unravel in the field and it just not being there by the end of the season. So it's something you really have to be on top of, and really, it's a tough one in a wild situation, right? So just know that. It sounds like, if I go back to getting into waterfowl and less upland opportunities, so I would imagine that one of the fears here is that if he's going to punch and flush, that's going to transfer over into the waterfowl blind to where he's going to want to break. And the nice thing about the waterfowl situation is that you're going to see birds, you're calling at birds, when they're coming. You can give the reminding correction. You can verbally, whether it's a no or a sit or whatever you want to do, right? You probably are going to have more control, and you now can have your buddy shoot and you focus on the dog because it's coming. So although I think it's a great concern, I think it's something definitely to have in the back of your mind. I do think that if you do enough work, and actually, Kyle, I know you're a Retriever Roadmap member, and I've been watching, the videos that you posting. Like, you're doing the work, dude. Like, you're grinding it, you're putting it in. I love seeing the progress. I mean, you have a young dog that is looking very advanced for his age. He is steady. He's on and off the place board. He's not through his retrieved hand, which is fine, but he's doing everything else. Like the dude looks ready. Like you stay on that, you start transfer that over into maybe a blind or maybe something that he's going to use in the field. I just have a hard time from what I'm seeing right there. Have a hard time you're thinking you're going to see too many major hurdles come up from that. So I think that's a really really good one. But let's see here. So we did that one. Okay, so Trey Blaine. Trey said, "Hey Josh, I've been listening to Duck Dogs and have a Retriever Roadmap membership for about 6 months now. Awesome. Love the program and making great progress with my 7-month-old pup. Thank you." Absolutely, thank you. Absolutely love everything you've been putting out, especially the extreme ownership group. So one thing, just before I keep going on this, so you guys know, through Retriever Roadmap, we've been doing some other cool things outside of just the dog stuff. So one thing, you guys know me, I'm big on mental strength and leadership and personal growth and all that stuff. Well, I start every year. I might maybe talked about this on the show, maybe not. I start out off every calendar year, rereading Extreme Ownership because I feel like it's that impactful of a book for me. And I just pitched it out to the group for Retriever Roadmap and was like, hey, if anybody wants to do this with me, I'll do it like a book club. All right, so we'll read these chapters, then we'll have a live video chat to talk about it. And then we had like 48 or 50 people that were doing this with us. I mean, it was awesome. And so much great perspective and great conversation, and people that were seeing things or reading things in a different manner that I was, which made me go, whoa, I hadn't thought about that. Just super, super fun. So that's what he's talking about here. Absolutely love everything you've been putting out, especially the Extreme Ownership group. From the last Duck Dogs episode, you were asking for recommendations, so I figured I'd reach out with one, but I'm not sure if you've covered it already or whether it's on Retriever Roadmap or podcast. I was just thinking something that discusses first aid for dogs, what you carry in the field or what you have in the truck in case of emergencies. Could maybe dabble into pet insurance and your input on that, and if you use it, which ones you have luck with. Also how you keep your dogs clean and smelling decent throughout the season in case my pup will be indoors without removing all the oil in their coat. And I know a lot of members have the same. Thanks for all the help. And if you discuss these topics already, let me know where I can find them. Awesome. So Trey, you have a lot of stuff in there, and I love that. So let's kind of break this down. The one that I really want to focus on, because I think this is the one that really applies to so many people, is the first aid in the field. And so I have a first aid kit actually from Gun Dog Supply. I can't remember which one it is, but it comes in a big red case. I'd have to look at it, and I will absolutely, if you guys shoot me a message, if you're interested in this, I will shoot you a link to which one I have. But the reason I have the one I have is it has all the essentials. So first aid in the field, this is the first thing that I think of. You are not looking to be a veterinarian in the field. You are looking at, if an emergency happens, what can I do to keep this situation from getting worse and get them to a trained professional to take care of it? The reality is that every one of us that is not a trained professional, so myself included, we are not fully prepared for everything that can happen in the field. We have had numerous situations where I've been in somewhat of a panic trying to get things, as taken care of as I can until I get somewhere. So here's the thing. So one, the kit that I have has all the emergency thing, like the staple gun and EMT gel, is like that big liquid Band-Aid, right? And the gauze and like everything you need. But what I love about it is that there's a little field manual that comes with it that you can reference. Okay, I have a major wound, in the abdomen area. What do I do to stop this and get them to a vet, right? And so you can go to these pages and you can find something that will walk you through and help you with this, because I can tell you, if you're not a trained professional, you're naturally going to be emotional about your dog being hurt. and your mind is going to rush and go into somewhat of a panic state, a stress state. Naturally, when you are stressed, you do not think as clearly and is going to be chaotic. And having something as much as a reference of, hey, I have a split ear. How do I take care of this? How do I get this to the point that it can maybe stop the bleeding and then get them in to be taken care of? That the feedback I have gotten that book right there is worth the kid alone, just because you actually feel confident enough to use the equipment in a way that it is meant to be used in that situation. So that is really important. The second that I think is probably the most important, and I think the easiest to forget, is, as you guys heard me talk about with Clyde, that I was not ready. How could you be, for a situation to come up where I needed to get him to an emergency vet here in the hunting season? Well, the reason I was able to confidently get him there so quickly is because I had taken the time, I had studied the vets in and around my area, and I knew where I was going to go in an emergency situation. Again, if you're stressed and you're panicked and you are emotional about the situation that's unfolding in front of you, you're probably not going to be able to search through that stuff very quickly and have a confidence of, hey, I need to get here. You're going to probably click the closest one and say, directions to. And the reality is, just like dog trainers, just like dog breeders, just like doctors, not all vets are created equal. And I really try to find somewhere that has an emphasis on sporting dogs, or like make notes like, hey, this emergency vet has a cardiologist, right? Like different things like not everybody does. So I try to research that ahead of time. Now, 99 out of 100 times, it feels like a waste of time because I don't need to use it. So I do that work, I do that research, I have the numbers saved in my phone, because if you have poor cell service, like so many of us do while we're traveling hunting, you're probably not going to get the service you want, and all of a sudden stuff is slow moving. That's going to add to your stress, add to your anxiousness. It's not a good thing for anyone, right? So to have that stuff already saved, I know where I'm going, address, I know the phone number to call, and I'm going. That just eliminated so much issue in that high stress moment. Those are the two things. Have the stuff on you and know how to use it, even if it's through the manual, and then know where you're going after that. Because if you're having to use the emergency kit, you're probably not qualified to use. And like I know Dr. Spoo listened to this. Dr. Spoo's rolling his eyes. I'm not qualified. No, you're like the most qualified person. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the majority of all the rest of us, right? So knowing where you're going, knowing what to use and how to use it, very, very, very important. So as far as the emergency stuff, I'd love to dig more into the insurance part of it, but to be really honest with you, Whitney handles all that stuff for us, and I really don't. I don't get into it, and so I'm not the right person. Maybe I'll have Whitney on here, to cover some of that, because I do think it'd be good. But it's one of those things that I don't get into enough to really be able to dig in and be like, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is who we use. I don't know enough to talk about it, and if I don't know enough to talk about it, I've learned, just don't talk about it. So, what I am going to do here, I'm going to wrap this thing up, and but before I do this, again, please, please, please go to Gundog Supply. Email the number 103 at gundogsupply.com. Tell them your favorite thing about this podcast, and you will be entered to win a $103 shopping spree. And again, please do this, because the more people that do it, the more often Rob is going to want to do this. You guys heard literally word for word what he had sent me in that text message, so you know it. Everybody go in and do this so that we can do this more often. I don't get anything of it. You guys do. I want you guys to get more out of this. So $103 shopping spree for episode 103 of Duck Dogs. Hope everyone has a great, fantastic rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to DUK, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.